It didn't shoot, it mowed. The epic saga of the DShK machine gun. Picture this. A battlefield engulfed in chaos. Tanks roaring, soldiers shouting, bullets flying. Then, cutting through the madness, comes a deep, rhythmic thud, like a giant pounding out a warning. That's no ordinary gunfire. That's the DShK, a Soviet machine gun so fearsome, it earned the nickname the Mower. Soldiers on the front lines used to say, "When the DShK starts talking, you know shit's about to get real." This beast of a weapon wasn't just a tool of war, it became a legend. From the deserts of Mongolia to the mountains of Afghanistan, the DShK has seen it all, and even today, nearly 80 years after its debut, it's still kicking ass in conflicts around the globe. Why is this old-school gun still relevant? How did a simple design outlast decades of high-tech warfare? And what makes it so damn special? Let's dive into the story of the DShK, but fair warning. This tale is so gripping it'll keep you glued to the page. The 1920s, a time of tension. To understand the DShK, we've got to rewind to the 1920s. The world was a mess after World War I, and the Soviet Union was just finding its footing. The Red Army, still young and scrappy, needed weapons that could keep up with a new era of warfare. Their trusty Maxim machine gun, a relic of the old days, was tough but outdated. Tanks were getting thicker armor, planes were flying faster, and enemies were getting smarter. The Soviets needed a game-changer. Enter the DShK, a heavy machine gun designed to punch through armor and take down planes. The project kicked off in the late 1920s, led by a genius named Vasily Degtyaryov, a guy who didn't just build weapons, he crafted legends. The man behind the machine, Vasily Degtyaryov, was the Tony Stark of Soviet weapons design. He had a knack for creating gear that was simple, tough, and deadly. His motto, "Build something that works in the mud, the snow, or the desert, anywhere a soldier might end up." The DShK, named after Degtyaryov and his colleague Georgy Shpagin, who tweaked the design, was his masterpiece. It took years of trial and error, but by 1938, the DShK was ready to roll. Why the DShK mattered. So why was this gun such a big deal? The world was on the edge of World War II. Nazi Germany was flexing its muscles, Japan was stirring trouble in Asia, and the Soviets knew they had to be ready for anything. The DShK was their answer, a weapon that could rip through light tank armor, shoot down low-flying planes, wipe out enemy troops from nearly a mile away. It was like the Swiss Army knife of machine guns, versatile, reliable, and ready to dominate. Let's take a closer look at what made it tick. Simple but deadly. Don't let the DShK's old-school vibe fool you. It's a masterpiece of engineering. This bad boy is a 12.7mm heavy machine gun, meaning its bullets could punch through stuff that regular guns couldn't touch. But its real strength? Simplicity. This thing was built to take a beating and keep firing. The DShK works on a gas-operated system. Here's the gist. When a bullet fires, some of the gas from the explosion pushes the bolt back, ejects the spent casing, and loads a new round. Rinse and repeat about 550 times a minute. That's like snapping your fingers 9 times a second. For the 1930s, that was crazy fast. The quick swap barrel trick. One of the DShK's coolest features was its quick change barrel. After intense firing, the barrel would get red hot, hot enough to mess up the gun if you kept going. But with the DShK, a soldier could swap out the barrel in seconds, slap in a fresh one, and keep the fight going. That kind of reliability saved lives and kept the enemy on their toes. Bullets that packed a punch. The DShK's ammo was no joke. It used a few types of rounds, each designed for maximum destruction. B-32. Armor-piercing rounds that could blast through nearly an inch of steel at 100 yards. Light tanks and armored cars didn't stand a chance. BZT. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds with a tracer. These could set things on fire and let gunners see where their shots were going. MDZ. Instant-action incendiary rounds that exploded on impact, freaking out anyone on the receiving end. Each bullet was like a mini-missile, and when the DShK opened up, enemies knew to hit the deck. First blood, Kochan Gol. The DShK got its first taste of action in 1939 at Kochan Gol, where Soviet forces clashed with the Japanese in Mongolia. It was a brutal test, and the DShK passed with flying colors, shredding enemy infantry and even taking out light tanks. Soldiers quickly fell in love with its power and reliability. But the real proving ground came during World War II. From 1941 to 1945, the DShK was everywhere, on tanks, planes, ships, and in the hands of infantry. Soviet troops called it the mower because it cut down enemies like a scythe through grass. The ultimate multi-tool. What made the DShK so awesome? Its versatility. Here's how it was used. On tanks, mounted on T-34s and KVs, it protected against infantry and aircraft. On planes, Il-2 Sturmovik attack planes used it to fend off enemy fighters. As anti-aircraft, it took down low-flying Nazi planes with ease. On the ground, as a stationary gun, it gave infantry cover to regroup or advance. With a range of nearly a mile, the DShK could keep enemies at bay while laying down a wall of fire that saved entire units. Beyond World War II. After the war, the DShK didn't retire. It showed up in the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, blasting American planes and tanks. In the Arab-Israeli conflicts, Egyptian and Syrian forces used it to hammer Israeli positions. In the 1980s, the upgraded DShK-M, more on that later, guarded Soviet convoys in Afghanistan. Even today, in 2025, you'll find DShKs in places like Syria and Libya. Rebels and militias bolt them onto pickup trucks, turning them into fearsome technicals. Why is it still around? It's cheap, tough, and still deadly. Fixing the flaws. The original DShK, rolled out in 1938, was awesome but not perfect. Could jam under heavy use, its accuracy wasn't great in long bursts, and it was a bit of a beast to lug around. Soviet engineers didn't mess around, though. By 1946, they unveiled the DShK-M for modernized, which fixed a lot of those issues. Lighter parts made it easier to handle. A better recoil system improved accuracy. An upgraded sight helped gunners hit their targets. A tweaked bolt reduced jams. New ways to wield it. The DShK-M got even more versatile with new setups. ZPU-1. A single DShK on a mobile platform. ZPU-2. 2 DShKs for double the firepower. ZPU-4. 4 DShKs, creating a literal storm of bullets. But it wasn't just official setups. In places like the Middle East and Africa, fighters got creative, slapping DShKs onto jeeps, old Soviet UAZs, and even tractors. These jury-rigged technicals became a staple of modern guerrilla warfare. The American rival, Browning M2. The DShK's biggest competitor was the American Browning M2HB, another 12.7mm heavy hitter. The M2 was a bit more accurate and easier to upgrade, but the DShK had its own strengths. You could fix it in the field with basic tools. It was cheaper to produce, so the Soviets could churn out thousands. It was easier for newbies to learn. German machine guns like the MG-15 and MG-17 were lighter but weaker, better suited for planes than ground combat. The Czechoslovak ZB-60 showed promise, but was produced in small numbers and faded away. The DShK's mix of power, simplicity, and mass production made it a global champ. Over the years, more than 50,000 DShKs and DShK-Ms were built, mostly at factory number 174 in Kovrov, Russia, a hub of Soviet weapons manufacturing. Copies popped up in China, Type 54, Egypt, North Korea, and Yugoslavia, spreading the DShK's legacy worldwide. The cost of power. Exact numbers are tricky, but producing a DShK in the 1930s was way cheaper than building a tank or plane. In today's dollars, one might have cost $5,000 to $10,000. The real win? Mass production. The Soviets could pump these out like nobody's business, making sure every unit had one. Global spread. The DShK's popularity led to licensed copies and knockoffs. China's Type 54 saw action in Vietnam, while Yugoslavia tweaked theirs to use local ammo. These copies made the DShK a global icon, used by dozens of armies and countless rebel groups. Even today, you might find a DShK on the black market for a couple grand. Though I'm not saying you should try. Still kicking. Russia officially retired the DShK in 2001, but it's far from gone. Why? This dirt cheap works in any environment and can be mounted on just about anything. In Syria, both sides use it on pickup trucks. In Libya, it's a go-to for controlling desert routes. In parts of Africa, it's still a mainstay for local militias. Modern upgrades. Some folks are even pimping out their DShKs with night vision scopes for low-light combat, laser pointers for better aim, new barrels to keep them firing longer. The DShK is like a classic muscle car. Still powerful, still cool, and ready for a tune-up. The DShK isn't just a gun. It's a lesson in building things to last. In a world of disposable tech, this machine gun reminds us what happens when you prioritize quality and simplicity. But it's also a reminder of the double-edged nature of human ingenuity. The DShK saved lives and won battles, but it also took lives and fueled conflicts. It makes you wonder, can we channel that kind of genius into tools for peace instead of war? The DShK is more than a machine gun. It's a symbol of grit, genius, and endurance. From the battlefields of World War II to the deserts of the Middle East, it's proven that a well-made tool can stand the test of time. Its deep, booming voice still echoes in conflicts today, reminding us of an era when weapons shaped history. So what do you think, folks? Isn't it wild that a gun from the 1930s is still making waves? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the DShK or any other legendary weapons you want to hear about. Let's keep these epic stories alive. Share your ideas, and I'll bring you more.